Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CSR AdviceBox studio. I'm Marina Stefanova, and together, step by step, we are discussing the whole CSR related agenda and think of how to implement in the best way sustainability in your everyday business. Today, we are going to discuss the very crucial topic of one router, one person who is going to drive the process and to follow all the activities you have in the field of CSR, the sustainability or CSR manager. Do we need it? What does it require to have one? What are his or her obligations? What should you expect from her? Are there any salaries that we have to foresee, or it's a voluntary job? All these things we are going to discuss in the following minutes. Take a cup of delicious hot tea, sit comfortably, put your headphones, and let's start. What is it to have a CSR structure in your company? You know that during the last 20 years, what we were witnessing is that CSR has evolved from an activity which is happened randomly. It is really out of the core of the business operations of your company, to something that is embedding in every single activity today. The theory says there are two separate ways of how to handle with this situation, the current one. The first one is to establish a centralized model of management of CSR activities in your company. This means that you have something like a pyramid. On its top you have the CSR or the sustainability manager. He has reports directly to the board or the CEO, and downside you may see that he is having the obligations, the everyday activities, and the budget in order to launch all the activities related to sustainability, to follow them, to report them, to analyze data, and to progress. On the other hand, what we have is something that is called decentralized model, where we see that some of the sustainability related issues, tasks, obligations, rights, and needs to be performed like separate actions are going to each division of the company as a separate part of any single manager's job description. In order to pretend that you have a sustainability related structure and team in your company, you need to have at least two different things: a CSR committee and a CSR manager. The committee is the crucial part. It is very important to be able to attract people coming from the various divisions of your company and being able to convince them to take part in this sustainability or CSR committee. Usually the best thing is to have a CEO or a vice president, depending on the corporate structure, a person who is being the chairperson, who is managing this CSR committee, putting the agenda and discussing and attracting all the colleagues involved. The best way to make the format of this CSR committee is to have representatives of every important division of your company. The core business, whether it's trade or it's production or it's providing of services. Some of the departments representing health and safety, environmental, human resource management, communications, marketing, especially you are delivering services and products to the end user. This committee should work on a voluntary basis, although being a professional and very important one. What are their primary responsibilities? To discuss the material topics of the company, to define them, to build the strategy, or not to draft it, but at least to discuss it and to vote it, to see the progress coming on a regular basis, to be able to reflect on an ad hoc competencies or cases that are happening in your everyday life, and finally to be able to see what are the results. Did you cover the KPIs they already accepted? and put goals forward. The procedure to nominate members of this committee is a very sensitive one, because they are expected to have many skills together with the knowledge that they provide and they input in the discussions of every meeting. They have to have a high integrity and ethics, which is an individual quality, and it is hard, to provide it, especially only on this subject. They also have to be really independent from the management. They have to be able to speak loudly, even they are against some of the decisions coming from the board of directors or the CEO itself, either in the discussions or through their voting, and this should not be served as a punishment to them. Thirdly, what should you expect from them is to have at least minimal financial and management skills, because it is very important to plan the whole process and see all the risks, how to manage them, how to reduce them, all the performance indicators. This is happening only if you know how to put and how to use these instruments. Finally, they really have to have some kind of an interest towards the topics of sustainability. I know it's hard in some of the businesses to find people who are not part of the working people, but are part of the management or administrative structure. But you can have and you can find representatives from every layer and every division of the organization, as long as they have this kind of empathy, this kind of attitude towards stakeholders, and being able to express it, to volunteer it, and to spread it among the company. The second element that is crucial for your CSR team is the CSR or Sustainability Manager. I don't know how you decide to call it, but he or she has to have several important skills and capacities which we are going to discuss right now. You can use this information to draft the job description or to be able to define the borders of their competencies and privileges at work, everyday activities that they will perform. So first, looking at this job, what you have to know for sure is that they have to have a common ground on sustainability and be able to define parts which are very important, coming from the social background, from the environmental background, from the governance background, from the legal and transparency background, and for health and safety. I know it's hard to find this kind of multidisciplinary people, but I'm sure that you can also raise them in your company from the people who already have their profession, and they would like to, broaden their skills and capacity in the field of sustainability. Nevertheless, we have several first steps which are very important in order to start the process. The first thing is to review whether you have something in your mission, your policy, your objectives for development, which is related to sustainability and CSR. If once you have a sustainability strategy, even this first one, not a written separate document, what you have to do is to see and start building the new structure, starting, of course, from the CSR committee. When we have all the people sitting at one table, what we have to do is organize an initial training on what is sustainability, what is expected from them, and how they can enlarge their expertise or enlarge the company's activities in the field of social responsibility. At the next step, what we have to do is to review the risk, the assessment, the existing practices, and structure an action plan which is going to be aligned with the KPIs of the business itself. This means that we can find, I'm sure you have it, so you have to just look for it in order to make a holistic approach, in order not to miss a very important practice that you already have. Just put them on paper, please. Finally, what we need to do after all this data collection and analysis, structuring this new body, is to be able to enforce its decision, because from the very beginning it is really voluntary. This doesn't mean, on the other hand, that it is something that should be with no reaction, with no follow-up. So amend the existing procedure of governance and be able that all the decisions that are taken by the CSR committee will be firstly reviewed by somebody, maybe the CEO or vice president or board of directors, and lately will be implemented with no force against them in other divisions that you have in the company. What we've discussed up to now are the minimal requirements for an effective system and structure of CSR implementation. Now we can upgrade it with several more ideas. The first thing is that I'm sure you have it for your core business, so it's the same with the CSR. You need to implement some CSR management system. It can be part of your own integrated system, or you can buy and choose another one like ISO 26000 or other S8 8000. You choose. But you really need to have some instrument that is going to collect regularly data, analyze it, and give you a feedback in order to improve your process. If you want to encourage employees to join you, your colleagues, in your efforts, you have to walk the talk. This means that all the things that you propose, you should implement them first. You have to be the first volunteer, you have to be the first payroll participant if there is such a program in your company. You have to be the vision that you want to see them implementing in the next 3 or 5 years. Last but not least, do not forget that this is an ongoing process. Put it in the annual assessment, present it to the board, and see whether this structure is really working. If it's not, you can always change it, you can always choose one of the other models that we discussed earlier, finally being able to get better results, to grow faster in this field, and be able to spread it not only in the company borders, but through the supply chain as well. I am not sure I know the proper answer of this question. It is as every single business process. So if you have to hire a new person, then you know the recruitment policy of your company. If you have to build another structure like the CSR committee, you also know it better than me. The main idea is to make it really work. Usually it can take between 6 and 12 months, so you can see the first results of the work of the people who are joining the club of CSR committee or CSR idea in your company. Looking for their remuneration, the CSR manager is a manager as every other in the administrative governance of your company. So do not treat it worse, do not put it as 2 hours extra for the HR manager or communication manager. Focus and follow the recent trends. Is it worth it to have a separate person or division appointed to CSR activities? I believe it's very important for several reasons. First, if you have a separate CSR committee, they will be able, from a different angle and different division, to discuss most important topics, not for the sustainability as a whole, but for your company. And it is very practical. They will bring some new ideas for development. They will find new innovative products and services. So yes, it is very important to have a committee. Do you think it's important that your CEO knows about it and we have these skills and capabilities in his portfolio? Completely. Because otherwise you will not be able to have any change. In most of our series we are discussing that the first necessary thing is to have the approval or the commitment of the senior management staff. If they don't understand sustainability, nobody in your company will at all. And finally, do you need a separate CSR manager? Yes, if you want to see somebody doing the job. In fact, otherwise what you will see is some campaigning format which is not going to cover any KPI. If you don't have a KPI, it's not necessary to spend the money. If you want to see a progress, then do not miss the CSR Manager. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with me in the CSR AdviceBox studio and discussing the very important topic of whether to have a structured team on CSR or not. If you like this, please go to our YouTube channel and subscribe to the other videos that we are going to upload on the topic. If you want to have them together and learn a little bit more in a complicated and holistic way, go to our website and pre-buy the whole season series. Do not forget to like us and share the information with the CSR practitioners you know worldwide, thus becoming and helping us become a broader society. I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks when we are going to discuss the very important topic of responsible investment. Till then, follow us on Facebook and be aware of all CSR recent updates worldwide.